Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3MVTA. I am Big Jake. Hello, all you nerds out there in YouTube land. Got another one for you here. Please like and subscribe for me there. And this is my top 10 PS2 games. A lot of people don't know this, but believe it or not, you know the PS2 was actually the highest selling individual home console ever. I believe it was something like 159 million units were sold. Now I don't know what period of time that is, but yeah, so pretty interesting, huh? So let's go ahead and get on with our list here. First things first, we have two honorable mentions for you that games that I really enjoy but just didn't quite make my top 10. So we'll go ahead and get into those. First things first, we have Indigo Prophecy, released in 2005 by Quantic Dream, which a lot of people may know did like that Detroit game, Becoming Human, I think it is. Detroit Become Human. I think they also did Beyond Two Souls. But action adventure game that plays out a lot like a movie. Really, really fun game. I remember when I first played this, I hadn't played anything like it at the time. But basically, the whole idea is you play this character named Lucas, who he becomes supernaturally possessed and commits a murder. Now, the whole game you think he's being framed, but then it turns out that he really did it, and it's this whole big like supernatural crazy storyline. Really fun game. Has multiple endings. In my opinion, definitely worth checking out even nowadays. So go ahead and give it a whirl, won't you? The next honorable mention I have for you guys is Need for Speed Most Wanted, the original Most Wanted. I'll just be honest with you. I don't like racing games. I've never liked racing games. They're just not fun for me. But this is literally the only racing game I've ever played that I've legitimately enjoyed, and I think a lot of that has to do with the story behind the game. Being for one thing, your character has no name, but your character goes to this particular town to street race, and you get this like souped up car. Your car is actually pretty bomb, and the guy you challenge, Razor, you bet your pink slip. He cheats, he beats you, takes your car, and then you get arrested. So then several years later, or I forget how long it is actually, you come back, Mia helps you, and she's almost like an in-game narrator. She kind of just helps you, she just talks to you from time to time. But other than that, she doesn't really do a whole lot. But and you get a car, you soup it up, and you just work your way up the list, and yeah, pretty cool. And the one thing I always thought was cool about it is you can actually not steal, but you get the pink slip to your rival driver's cars. So if you beat them, you get a chance to get their pink slip, which is pretty cool. So, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and start our list with number 10. Number 10 is Medal of Honor Frontline. Now, once again, I will say for the record, I'm not a big fan of the soldier games, like Call of Duty, Ghost Recon, things of that nature. I remember when I first played this, I liked it because I'm a history buff, and it starts out at the invasion of Normandy, and it's pretty accurate to what happened. I mean, for any history buffs out there, you know that our troops, the first wave of troops, just absolutely got slaughtered on the beach by the machine guns. But you play Lieutenant James Patterson, nicknamed Jimmy, and you literally just make your way through Europe. And even nowadays, like I own a copy of this game now, and I actually just played it not that long ago, just because. Just a super fun game, and I honestly, I miss the games like this that really paved the way for what I would consider like the soldier games, army games like that nowadays. So definitely fun, definitely worth playing. Even like I said, even nowadays, I think it's worth playing. So go ahead and check it out. So let's get on with number 9. Number 9, Def Jam Fight for New York. Now, this game is super fun for a fighting game. And it was something, once again, something when it came out, nothing else out there like it at the time. And it's just, even now, this game, from what I understand it, they didn't actually make a crap ton of copies of it like they do most games. So, like, even nowadays, this game is actually super expensive to buy. I actually tried to get a hold of a copy not that long ago just because I missed playing it. And it was, like, stupid pricing. Like, people want over $100 just for the case to this game, which is absolutely ridiculous. No, I'm sorry. There's no video game worth that. This isn't retro enough for that kind of price tag. But like I was saying, when it came out, there was nothing else like it at the time. You had mainstream rappers doing their own voices in this game. You had people like Danny Trejo is in this game. But you play a created fighter who has, you give him a name, but they don't ever call him the name, type of thing, before they had the technology to do that. I think they could program it back then. It's just for whatever reason, fighting games never did, and I don't understand why you would think that would be something that they would program in. But as usual, they didn't at that time. But and the whole idea is you join D-Mob and his crew of fighters that fight at the clubs, and you just go through that, working your way up D-Mob's ladder, and then eventually you end up switching over to Snoop Dogg, aka Crow, his crew, and then you start taking down D-Mob's clubs. So, but on here I had a list of the roster of some of the more famous rappers and people that are in this game, like Bone Crusher, Bubba Sparks, David Banner, Ghostface Killah, Ice-T, Nori, aka Noriega. OE is played by Omar Epps, like Warren G exhibit. So a lot of big names in this game. It's definitely fun. If you can get a hold of a copy of this for any kind of reasonable price, I 100% suggest doing so. Let's go to number 8. Number 8 is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. The Dragon Ball Z Budokai series, to me, in my opinion, was the first Dragon Ball Z fighting game that was just well done. The moves weren't super complicated to do. You could play scenes you could actually literally play out scenes from the TV show and from the movies, and then this one just culminates in all of that, where it has all the movies, all the TV show, all the big moments from the TV show, I should say, and and also something really interesting about this is I didn't know this until I did the research for this video. Was at the time this game came out, it actually had the biggest roster of any fighting game at the time. So, pretty interesting there. But yeah, I mean, it's got all your favorite characters. If you're like me and you're a big DBZ fan, of course, it's not quite as good as like Dragon Ball Fighter Z or Dragon Ball Fighters, however you want to say it. But I mean, you got, like I said, you got all your favorite characters: Vegeta, Goku, Gohan, Gogeta, and then you got people from the movies like Dr. Wheelo, Turles, Bojack. It's just amazing. I love this fighting game. And honestly, this and Def Jam Fight for New York, the whole reason they're this low on the list is because since there's fighting games, there's really not a whole lot you can. There's really not a whole lot more you can do with them. You know what I mean? Like once you fight through it, like yeah, you may go back and play it again sometime, but it's not like a story game that keeps you encapsulated and it can and you can go back to over and over again. I would say so. But let's go ahead and move on to number 7. Number 7 is Chaos Legion. Now this game is a game. For all those people, I've never mentioned it before, but I actually lived in Mississippi for about 2 years when I was a little bit younger, and I happened to stumble across this game at a local game store. I don't think it was a GameStop, but it was a local game store down there, and I just happened to stumble upon it in the PS2 bargain bin. And I looked at the back and I read it, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds pretty interesting. So I bought it and checked it out, and and I thought it was really fun. It was a very interesting concept. Your character's the main character, and you can fight with your character, whose name is Siege, but he he's weak in comparison to a lot of other things that are going on. So you have these what they call the Chaos Legion, which are basically like these little warriors that come with you and fight with you, and they're actually a lot stronger than you in the game. Now, that doesn't really make sense for the lore, but for the actual playing of the game, they are actually a lot stronger than you. And down there, as you can see, I have all the names of the different legions, and you have the sword, the arrows, the shields, the claws, the bombs, and then Thanatos, the ultimate legion, is basically this one huge legion creature that's like just super powerful and strong. So definitely a fun game. As you can see, the average for the ratings, for the record, I took the three most well-known companies that I know of on the list of companies that rated these games and averaged it out. So this, as you can see, this only got a 6.5 rating, but I thought it was definitely, I would think, in my opinion, I'd say it's at least an 8. I thought it was a lot of fun. So if you like hack and slash and action adventure style games, go ahead and check it out. And we'll move on to number 6. Number 6, Soul Reaver 2. The Legacy of Kain series is a series that never disappoints. I wish they would either reboot this series or remake this series or something. It was so much fun to play. The lore was so in-depth and just so good. In this one, just like in a couple of the other games, you play as Raziel, who is a vampire that Kain murdered because basically he was jealous that he was evolving higher than Kain was. And so his body, he's like this corpsey, deformed looking thing, and he has these big claws, and the whole point, Raziel's main purpose, he was brought back to life by the Wheel of Fate, which is the god that controls the world, and his whole purpose is to get back at Kain for take his revenge, but as you can imagine, of course, things don't always go according to plan. In this game, there's like time travel. You get to go back in time and meet the vampire Vorador and Janos Aldrin, and it's just a ton of fun. And like I said, the lore of these games, if you follow these games at all, like I did, you were just absolutely. When this came out, I was blown away. Honestly, it 100% deserves its 9 out of 10 rating, like 100%. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of this series and haven't done it so yet. So. And we'll move on to number 5. Number 5, another one in the Legacy of Kain series. This is Defiance. Now, the reason I didn't put these in the same, like a lot of times if it's like the same series or whatever, I'll put them on the same. I don't take up more than one spot because I think that's kind of a cop out when you're doing a ranking list. But this one, I chose not to do that just because it plays completely different than the other ones. This is the newest and the last one. You get to play as both characters, Raziel and Kain. The Wheel of Fate's in it, and actually he is the final boss of the game. You have to actually fight the Wheel of Fate with the Soul Reaver sword, which is the uber powerful sword throughout the series. And once again, this one was just super duper fun. Even though it got a lower rating technically than Soul Reaver 2, I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't say necessarily it's better, but I could see, in my opinion, I definitely think it was just a cut above Soul Reaver 2, and it's just, like I said, with the lore of these games and how good they are, it's just so much fun, so much to do, so many cool powers, and 100% worth your time playing, even nowadays, I think. So, and we'll move on to number 4. Number 4, Castlevania: Curse of Darkness. One of 2 Castlevania games to be released on PlayStation 2. The other one was Lament of Innocence, which was a lot of fun, but it's just your typical Castlevania game, guy with a whip destroying stuff. This game was so different. Not 100% different, but a lot different than the other Castlevania games. It did have that Metroidvania style gameplay. In my opinion, the 7.8 out of 10 rating is a little low. In my opinion, it should be a little bit higher. But this game, not only did it had that Metroidvania map system in there, but it also had a armor and weapon building system, which is something completely new to the series. Like in Symphony of the Night, you could equip things, but you couldn't make things. In this game, you can actually make different weapons by collecting things and collecting materials, actually. And you can also steal materials, which is crucial in some situations, because there's some materials that you can only steal it. You can't pick it up in the game. But you play as Hector, who is a completely new character at the time, and he's trying to kill his rival Isaac. Now, Hector was what they called a Devil Forge Master, and those of you that are familiar with the Castlevania anime series on Netflix will know this, but Hector's a Devil Forge Master who fell in love with, I can't even remember her name now, but he fell in love with a mortal female and decided to give up all of his powers to live among the humans because he wanted to be with her. Well, Isaac coordinates her murder, so Hector seeks revenge. And then, and Isaac also seeks to bring Dracula back to life, of course, because they're always bringing Dracula back to life in Castlevania. Everybody knows that. But you encounter all kinds of cool people. Like you said, Hector, Isaac, Dracula's in it, of course, in the end. But you encounter Trevor Belmont, which everybody who's a fan of the series knows who that is. Saint Germain, who's a new character. Now, he's a little different in the game as opposed to in the series. Saint Germain in the game is the patron saint of time, who is Death's rival. And he, like in the show, he was strong and, he knew magic and stuff. But in the game, he's literally a deity type individual. Like, he can travel through time. He has other powers and stuff too. Death, of course, is a boss in the game. Julia is actually the shop owner that you can buy stuff at, who looks exactly like his dead wife or girlfriend. And it's just this. I love this game. I still play it nowadays. It's in my collection right now. Tons and tons of fun. If you're a fan of the Castlevania series as big as I am, especially, and honestly, if you're a fan of the anime series follows a lot of this game and a lot of Symphony of the Night. So if you haven't played either of those two and you're a fan of the show, you need to play them. Trust me, it'll be worth it for you. And we'll go to number 3. Number 3, and this is more about what I was talking about with putting things in the same series as not to take up too many spots, but I have the Devil May Cry series for PlayStation 2. Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3. All absolutely amazing games. Dante is one of my favorite characters in video game history. I mean, honestly, Capcom just really had something when they came out with this. And this game has just stuck with me all of these years. And every time they come out with a new one, I'm down to play it, just because I'm such a huge fan of this series. And every game introduces you to something new. Now, the first 2 games have a lot in common as far as the weapons go. The third game, you have a lot more variety. You get like the electric guitar, and you get the Agni and Rudra dual swords, and yeah. But like I said, these games are just absolutely great. So much fun. They're even funny at times because Dante is such a smartass. The ratings, the 9.6s on games 1 and 3 are definitely justified. I think 7 out of 10 for the second game is a little low, because even though the second game wasn't as, I wouldn't say it was a lot of fun, but I wouldn't say it was as good as the first game or the third game necessarily. But it still deserves better than a 7 out of 10, in my opinion. It deserves at least an 8.5, or maybe even a 9. But yeah, and for those who don't know, the Devil May Cry series follows Dante, the Devil Hunter, around as he literally starts a business to kill demons, and it just goes from there. And it's just, I doubt, if anybody watching this video, I doubt there's any of you that haven't played these games, because if you're a PlayStation 2 fan, like I was, you've played the Devil May Cry series. I guarantee it. So, and we'll move on to number 2, which shouldn't surprise a lot of you, actually. It was on another list that I made, and if it hadn't been for this one other game, this would have been my number 1 PS2 game. Resident Evil 4, in my opinion, the best Resident Evil game to date. If any of you watched my ranking of the Resident Evil games, you would know that it is my favorite, with the Village being right behind it because they were so similar, I think. But not really a whole lot I can say that I haven't said before. But for anybody who hasn't watched that video before, Resident Evil 4, they brought back Leon S. Kennedy, and he's trying to rescue the president's daughter in Spain. And lo and behold, there's a new zombie type outbreak. Big surprise, Resident Evil. And it's just, I don't know what it was about this game, but they absolutely struck gold with it. To give you an idea of how popular this game is, since its initial release on PlayStation 2, they've re-released it on PlayStation 3, 4, and they're going to release it on PlayStation 5. I guarantee you that. And they're planning to remake it. So now I don't know if that means they're actually going to remake it, or if they're just going to do what they did like with Resident Evil 1 and 2, where they redo it but just have a more updated graphics engine for it, like the Unreal Engine like they used for those two. So we'll just have to see, and hopefully it doesn't ruin this game, because like I said, it's just so good. I just hope they don't mess with it too much, 9.5 rating, 100% justified. And like I said, in my opinion, the best Resident Evil game out right now. And number one, and honestly, it shouldn't surprise anybody out there, God of War 1 and 2. Now, this game is by far my favorite PS2 game. I absolutely love this series. It has an amazing story to go along with it, an amazing main character. The 9.8 and 9.7s, honestly, in my opinion, 10 out of 10. I mean, the games are so well done. And the best part about it is they took these Greek myths and not just took the myths and made a game out of it, but some of it, they changed it in their own ways to make it kind of an original story, which for me, that's what endeared me to this series, was because when I was younger, I was really big into mythology, talking about the Greek and Roman gods and stuff. And when I saw this game, it was like, it just brought me back to that. So I immediately endeared myself to the series. And it's just, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty much the perfect action adventure game in my opinion. You follow Kratos, who is this I don't even know how to describe him. Like he's just this badass, not really crazy, but just he's crazy strong, and he's crazy stubborn, and he's willing to sacrifice everything to take his revenge on the gods that betrayed him. And the thing about Kratos is that he kind of reminds me of a Mr. Freeze character, not the original Mr. Freeze, but the Mr. Freeze that they reinvented for Batman the Animated Series, where you really empathize with him. Like, yeah, he's done terrible things, but like the fact that Kratos was tricked into accidentally killing his own wife and daughter, and he carries that burden around with him on his skin, not only in his memories and his mind, but physically. That's why his skin is white, because the ashes of his wife and daughter are bound to his flesh forever, just like the blades of chaos are bound to his flesh. And it's just, I mean, I just can't say enough nice things about this game and the whole series in general, to be honest with you. If you're living under a rock and haven't played these games, play them. Even nowadays, I can go back and play these games. I've played these games over and over and over again, and I never get tired of it. It's just so much fun, and it's just, like I said, they're just absolutely amazing games. So, take it or leave it. I hope you take it, honestly. But we're coming to an end now. And thanks to everybody out there for watching. I really appreciate it. Please, I hope that you like and subscribe to me. And, let me know what you think about my list. Is there any games out there that you thought on the PS2 that I forgot, or maybe some games that on my list that you would have ranked differently than I did? Or, you know, I definitely want to hear from you guys out there. So, yeah, and that's it for this video. Next time on here, I'm going to finally do my in-depth look at the anime known as Trigun, my favorite anime series of all time, as of right now at least. So, I'll see you guys. Same nerd time, same nerd channel, and I hope you have a good evening.